All right, welcome to our episode of Real Estate vs. Technology. I'm your host, Norman Kinsey. We have our co-host, Mr. Dan Gandy. Welcome, Dan.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thanks for being here. And we have now a special team that I've known this individual from Instagram for quite a while, but she and I have never spoken. So I was like, damn, we got to get her on the podcast. Now she's here, 30-year veteran in the real estate sector in the greater Phoenix area. It's actually the Mark and Mel team, but we have Mel on Real Estate vs. Tech today. So Mel, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here. Love this.
Of course. We're just
Mark's not really, he's not the social guy. He's the big brains, and he's the mentor. He's the one he's amazing.
I love it.
Yeah. So he's just like, you do it. You got this. You do it on your own.
Touche. And you're just a natural. I got to say that for anyone who's watching right now, be sure to check out the Mark and Mel team, all one word, on Instagram. Because Mel, you're crushing it with your stories and your reels and what you're doing. And we'll get into that today, because I think that there's agents out there that have been in the business for 30 years that are having a hard time adapting with technology and with videos and how they do what they do. So before we get into some of that a little bit later in the show, can you just give us some context as far as how long have you been in the business? Why real estate? Like, why did you choose out of all industries? Why this industry?
Yeah, really. Okay. My dad was a realtor, and long time, my whole life. I mean, he was a great realtor. He was actually president of the board, and this is in California. And I said, with all the ups and downs, we had a lot, and sometimes we wouldn't have a lot. Sometimes we would have a lot. And, so I said, I'm never going to do that. I'm going to get a job. And so when I got married and had a baby, I was like, I need security. So I had friends that, I'd still had that real estate side of me. So I got my license in California, and we're talking the 80s. We're talking the mid 80s. And so I had a friend that had started real estate too. His dad was in real estate. His dad actually had an appraisal company. So he was headed that direction, and he was just an awesome guy that we connected. And he said, if you're looking for more stability, you should be an appraiser. And I was like, yeah, I need it for my family. So I went into the bank, got in there, and he started at the bottom of the ladder. I mean, that's the way I worked up. For 10 years, I was an appraiser working for corporate banks, and I moved over here to California. And it worked. It worked really well at the time. I mean, I was writing up appraisals when you could write them by hand. They were only a few pages. You didn't have computers. You were just starting to get computers to type them on. Nice. It was, you could talk to loan officers. You could talk to everybody in the bank. You could talk to realtors. There wasn't the big separation there as now, but it's because it went south. There's going to always be bad people in any industry. And there was a bunch of bad people that made it bad. And they influenced appraisers in the last Great Recession. They just were doing deals with people. A lot of people got in trouble. So, the government had to step in. So there's that separation now between appraisers. Well, so I was actually asked after 10 years of appraising, you should open up your own business. And at the time I could. So I did. And it was weird because they were going to make a move. The bank was going to be merging with another bank. And it was like, okay, if you've been here over 10 years, 10 years at least, you can have a severance. You can have a month's income for every year you've been here. That was 10 months. And I thought, okay, this is about the only time, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to open my own appraisal company because it'll give me that buffer time, So my late husband, God bless him, he was so supportive, and he said, you should do it. I'll help you out. So he was a design engineer, and we did that. And I ended up with trainees. I ended up the first year I tripled my income with less effort.
Nice.
I mean, doing over 100,000 back then, that was a lot. That was in the 90s. So late 90s. So I loved it. I had flexibility to be with my kids. I loved it. I could come home and write up the reports. But then the Great Recession hit, and I was like, things are going to go south, like bad, because I'd already appraised in like two recessions before that, little ones, and so I was like, ooh, it's going to get bad. So we sold a couple rentals. We just started pivoting, we sold a rental, we moved into it, we fixed up. And I called up my friends and I said, do you need me to do any appraisals for the bank? Because I know it's going to get bad. Well, they said, we need you to review the appraisals. So I was basically from that point on locked in a 10 by 10 room, reviewing 12 to 14 appraisals a day and catching fraud left and right. And it was 4 years of grueling time. So at the end of that, I don't want to put a damper on, but my husband passed away. And I said, I'm done. We're recovering. It was 2010. We're recovering, and I'll fix and flip homes, but I will not work to death for any corporation anymore. So I resigned, and I settled everything, and I took a couple of years to regroup and did fix and flips, and did fine. And we were recovering the whole time. Well, then I met this guy who was fixing and flipping too. And that was Mark. And he would pick my brain and I would pick his brain because he was a realtor for over 30 years. So, one kind of sees the glass half full and one sees the glass half empty, I think. And you need the balance of both, really. You do. It can't be all or, you need each other. We need each other in this industry. So you need a good balance of seeing things optimistically and then conservatively. And I think that's why I've done so well, because I just decided to get my real estate license again. I was like, I'm going to do real estate with you. And plus, there's not that big a margin for fix and flips anymore. So it was like the logical thing to do. So I got excited about it and I did really well, like into my second year, 18 transactions. So not bad. And I think it helped me though, having that appraisal background.
Wow.
Now, social media, I had known nothing about. So all I do, I'm a sponge. I just watch everybody out there, like you guys, everybody who's doing something. And I'm not afraid to ask, how do you do this? What's working for you? This doesn't work for me. You have to be able to do something. You have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to take an action to see if it's going to work or not. Mm-hmm. And I don't have that much time left. So I don't fool around. I have nothing to lose. You know what I mean?
Go for it. Go for it. That's awesome. I got to say, what a story. That's amazing. And from someone from like my perspective who's been following you on social media, now I have context. I know how Mark and Mel have now came to be. And I have to say for our viewers and listeners out there, that's really important to like just be a sponge. Be as much as you can, ask questions and go for it. There's so many people that are like not wanting to ask questions and they're kind of like weird about it. So I absolutely love that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. There's a book, actually, it'll apply to everything. Ask, you got to ask for the referral. You have to ask for the deal. You have to ask how to do social media. I have some people that are about my generation who are reaching out and saying, how do you make it look so easy? It's not. You just have to do it.
Yes.
And
then it gets easier.
It gets easier. Gets easier. Yeah.
I love that. So last question from me. So what's been the biggest, like technology wise, been the biggest I'll say social media, social media technology. What's that one tool you've adapted to that you've seen success from?
I'd say social media. I really would, because it was so important for me to get the word out. For a newer agent, if you don't have anything going, I would go to model homes. I would take my camera. I would take pictures. I would take pictures at, different neat decorator styles of rooms. People like that stuff. I would add before and after of different flips we've done. Actually, younger generations like that. They really like the before and after pictures of anything. Now I know I need to share more of other people's pages because I've grown to over 2,500. And I just saw a post that said, if you've got that many, you need to start sharing other people's pages. And, you need to branch out in the network. Networking is huge in everything. And I think, that's old school. That's always going to be great. But now we have this platform of social media to network with. Is amazing.
Wow. Hey, you're hearing it first. 30 years in the business, a veteran that's telling you straight up, get on social media. It's amazing. Take some of the old, but bring it to the new school with social media. I love that. I'm going to hand it off to Dan for the mix-up round. He's going to ask you some tech tool stuff. Like, what are you using behind the scenes to help drive your business?
Yeah. Thanks, Norm. So I think ultimately we want to know, you got into this business quite some time ago, right? Both on the appraisal side, but in terms of lead generation, what would you say is your number one lead source right now for your business?
That's a good question. I never expected to have such a really powerful CRM, but where we are at eXp Realty has a very powerful CRM. And I'm just now trying to learn to use it instead of just boosting a post, because then I can actually have the lead go there and start nurturing that lead. Yep. So that's very effective. I never paid anybody for leads, anybody. And I wouldn't suggest doing it either because now tech support, yes, that's different. That I think saves you a lot of time and effort because in anything, right, we want to cut the learning curve. That's just the smart thing to do it. I think that a lot of people are moving away from just depending on leads. Well, I shouldn't say that because I'm amazed at how many people still pay for leads or pay their team a big cut when they really, I think you can become dependent on that instead of doing it yourself and working with people like you guys and figure it out yourself. It's doable.
It's that pathway of building your personal brand and creating a following and an audience and people that want to do work with you and branching out through referrals and friendships and all of that local authority. But
right. I do use InShot. InShot's a free app. And some people have asked, how do you do your slow and fast and cut? I learned that from a gal I followed on YouTube. Nice. And so from the beginning, I use the InShot app, which makes it for me pretty easy to put together like a reel, or even right now I'm trying to go out into the community and we're trying to support local businesses and stay, connected that way, which people like. And I use InShot.
Yeah. Love it. It's all good. Next question for me is really evolving into any type of technology that you're currently interested in using in your real estate business. Is there something new that you've introduced into your business? Or is there something that you want to introduce to be more productive from a tech side?
I haven't thought about that. Right now, it's enough for me to just get used to the tech, I think. I mean, I'm pretty techy for my age because I had that with the bank. Yeah, I had to do a lot of research, but I'm starting to learn. I think more. I want to branch into YouTube, and so I want to know if I'm got the right video editor to use with the YouTube. So those kind of things I'd like to learn more about.
Yeah, definitely. And you touched base earlier on the conversation off air that you had implemented some coaching and some social media strategy. Why don't you elaborate a little bit more on that?
So that's huge. I connected with Kristen Mayshore, who I ran into when we were both at an event. And I ran up to her and I was like, oh my gosh, I love you. And I had no clue you had even come over to eXp Realty, but I was like, holy cow, she's on the stage. And after she got down, She was running down the hall, and I grabbed her, got a picture with her. And I said, I just connect with you. I love you. And so I actually started looking into her program. She had a really discounted program that for about 3 days, and I loved it. So I actually joined her coaching program, and that is huge because every day, whether you're talking to her or somebody on the team that's a coach, you have to have a coach to hold you accountable. You know, we have a coaching group in our group. We have a collaboration group that's over 100 now, and that's huge because we meet every Monday on Zoom. But they can reach out anytime they want. I help them with appraisals, all kinds of stuff. They help me with other things like techie things that I don't understand. And so it's all different ages, all different ranges of experience. But that accountability every morning, I knew I had to pay for it, because then you're going to use it. You're going to go through the program. You're not going to waste any time. You're going to use it. And I've become more positive, more productive. I do the mundane, especially in this kind of environment when you can't get things, you can't get listings as fast. And we all know we're up against big iBuyers out there and hedge funds. Mm-hmm. And we have to use social media to teach people. And it's helping me get it into gear and to not be afraid to get out there on video, because she's real big with video. And the biggest, I did a video because it was really concerning to me what's going on in the world. And I'm just really sensitive to that stuff, but it will interrupt your business, your team, your family, if you don't move beyond it and stay positive. And the only way I could do it is to share that. Overnight, it was like, I think I had like almost 3,000 views, because people connect with the real, the reality that we're people.
Yes.
And that stuff impacts us when we care for people.
It's called social media.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And that's why you're doing reels that are real to life. So.
I tell you, somebody said, how do you do the reels? And I mean, I have to do like reels every once in a while, and learning to put value in those in such a quick amount is like a challenge for me, but I love it because it gets out the creative side of me. You know what I mean? It's almost like a release. In the mundane that we have to do, in the really serious contract work we have to do, it is a release for me. And I never thought it would be.
Wow.
I wouldn't have known if I didn't try it, right?
Yeah. No, it's all good. I think even on my own Instagram, I started doing, like, every Friday, try to do some real talk, which is kind of like the realtor's perspective of the insider of what buyers and sellers need to hear from somebody that's in the business. Like if you called a contractor or a chef and you're like, what bothers you about customers? Right?
Good question.
Right. Yeah. Like that's what the people want to hear, because they're like, oh, I didn't even understand that. Like I'm wasting your time and you're showing me 18 houses. Right. But yeah, you're doing an amazing job. I think you've touched base on tech, how you're implementing things, and you're being accountable and using a coach. And I think that's all relevant information that our audience should and need here. So back to Norman.
Oh, wow. That was an amazing mix-up round. Thank you so much, Dan, for taking that on. And Kristen Mayshore is amazing. She actually, liftoffagent, who sponsors Real Estate vs. Tech, is actually not far from her. She's in Brentwood, California, and Liftoff was founded just 30 minutes from there. So we actually have one of the agents that's in indirect competition with her.
It's a direct competition.
It's direct competition, but they go back and forth. And so we're like, we got to get Krista on the show. And she's a prime example of someone too, who's innovated and who was motivated and who just kept moving forward and was always ahead. And she was on the show, y'all. So anyone was watching right now, check out her podcast episode. And I got to say, I loved, Mel, how you said that, like, it's a release. Social media is a creative release, because so many people can't get past that first roadblock, that very first, like, can I even do a video? Can I even get a reel going? Then you blasted through that, and you went to a point now where you're like, hey, I wrote the offer. I'm going to take a break, have a sandwich, and do a reel.
That's right.
More agents need to listen up to that, because one of the biggest things that we overcome in this business is, even if people are attractive or what would you call camera friendly, right? They're afraid of the camera. They're afraid of video. They're like, no, I don't like myself on video. I don't want to put myself out there. And you're over here 30 years deep in the business, like shooting reels like it's nothing. Right? So, listen up.
And that's the funny thing. I've got some people in our group that, are coming on. They're newer at it. And they're like, we're saying, don't be a secret agent at all. That's the way you're going to get started faster. And they're like, well, that's not me. Well, that wasn't me either. It's not like I'm saying it doesn't come easy. I'm saying get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Anything in growth, right?
Yes.
Anything. Just get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because it's such a good feeling when you break through. Like you said, when you break through and go to that next level, it's a great feeling. So
I love it.
With uncomfort.
I love it. And when collectively majority of the eyeballs are like over here and you're like, no, I don't want to be there. It's like, well, if you don't do it for business, then fine. But if you're a real estate agent and you have a private account, there's no such thing, like Mel just said, as a private agent. And I see it all the time. And I'm like, why is your account private? Like there's nothing for you to hide. It's like, personally, I wouldn't want to hire an agent that had something private going on that they couldn't tell me, because then I would feel like, can I trust this person? Is this person just not going to get me across the finish line? I'm trying to buy a house here. It's like the biggest purchase of my life.
Right.
On that note, I think the funniest thing that happens is when I go to write an offer sometimes, and I have to look up the other agent's like license number, phone number, what office they're at, what address. And I have to go to the state agency website. Like I'm mad. I'm like, this agent is impossible to find.
Oh my God.
Secret agents. They're everywhere.
Listen up out there.
That's right.
I love that. I love that. So last question I have before I leave the floor open to you, so you can leave any advice for our viewers and listeners today. Geographically, I know that you're in your specific area as far as like the greater Phoenix area. And you said you're thinking about YouTube and you want to do more like local community outreach or spotlighting local community and business owners, which I've seen already kind of coming onto your Instagram. So is that your goal, and what's your goal behind it for this year going in that direction?
Yeah, I would love to do more YouTube. I would love to do more series about to home buyers and home sellers, because we know that the industry will shift. Yeah. It's a matter of time. It's going to be like turning the Titanic. It's like, it's not, in the recession, that was like turning the Titanic. Yeah. It was already slow. And the change from like hyperinflation took a while for people to realize. I mean, I stopped buying, overpaying, and I stopped, and I started preparing to sell extra rentals I didn't need. So I don't think it's a different process right now, because there's no sinking coming, but we know it's going to be a correction. Mm-hmm. I would say really get ready for the correction. Now's the time to really, and what I want to do is get on YouTube and explain the difference, because I'm just a nerd with statistics. And I mean, the statistics of going through your market area and explaining to people how you see graphs shifting and kind of getting towards a balance. Very slowly, because we have this shift in the country too. So we have a lot of employers coming here, and even though interest rates are going up, your payment is. When I bought my first house, it was like triple that. So it's there's still going to be a lot of buying going on. It's going to be bananas. Probably for, I think, the rest of the year. But I do think that we'll shift, and it's already starting to shift in higher dollar homes, the multi-million dollar homes, and balancing. I think when we get to that point where listing agents and selling agents are talking together and we're helping do the best thing for our client, it's awesome. I think that we have to get the word out. And I looked in a competing neighborhood, two different ones. And there were two iBuyers that purchased and flipped that home in a month. Those sellers in the 450 to 550 range lost out on between 15 to 30%, netting 15 to 30%, which is a lot. It's big chunks.
That's huge.
When you explain to sellers that's like $65,000, $75,000, would you take just one offer, or would you expose it to the masses and maybe take an extra week for 65 or 75,000 extra dollars?
Yes, I think we know the answer.
Yeah.
So we have to get really loud about explaining to people. And I think once we get back to a better balanced market where the local realtor is helping because of their knowledge and experience, I actually think it's going to be better.
I love that. Hey, listen up. We're not against each other. We're all here to support each other. And this is Real Estate versus Tech. We don't want the tech taking over real estate. So come on, y'all. What the heck?
Not totally. It is cool to have an app and it's cool to use technology, but you got to have people, real people that care for you.
Amen. Man, I love that. This has been action packed. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put the camera on you, Mel. What do you want closing out today's episode for our viewers and listeners to take from today's episode?
Oh gosh, we touched on so many great things. Holy cow.
They're amazing. That's why.
I know.
Just do it. Just get out there and learn to pivot and be, study the stats, constantly be aware of everything, but you then relay it to the general public in whatever way, and maybe multiple ways. If you can't do reels, then get on a video. If you can't do a video, just do something and pick up the phone and start talking to people and letting them know what the market's like now and what it's heading into, and use all social media as much as possible, any way you can.
I love that. Wow. Mel, this has been an awesome episode because it's been very informational and very practical, and you're very inspirational from a standpoint of like, when I get to your age, I still want to be hustling and bustling, right? And I also want to keep moving forward. So you're a prime example for someone that has soaked it up like a sponge, kept moving forward, didn't take no for an answer, and then learned that actually it was a creative outlet from like a social video standpoint and editing and learning. So thanks so much for being on the show. This has been great.
Yeah. This has been fun. Thank you.
Very fun.
Of course. Dan, thanks so much for co-hosting as always.
Another great episode. Thanks, guys. Great to meet you.
Yeah, man. Definitely. And thanks to all our reviews and listeners, as it is our intention for you to take some of our episodes, apply to your business, and have more massive success. We'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next week. Thank you for watching Real Estate vs. Technology, this week's brand new episode, and making it to the end, your real one. If you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified for new episodes that come out every single week on Fridays at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. Also, if you comment on this episode and you like the episode, you'll help this episode get out to more individuals. And if you want to join our Facebook group page, just click a link. It's a Facebook icon on our profile page here on our YouTube channel. Join our group page, network with individuals all across the world, and share what technology you're using to grow your business. The next link is to join our Real Estate vs. Technology brand new IG or Instagram page. If you go on any of our stories, you can see who's going to be on Real Estate vs. Technology before it actually goes live on our YouTube channel. And the last link would be if you want to be on an episode of Real Estate vs. Technology. You pick a date and a time. We'll deep dive into your story and technology you're using to share that with other individuals that view our episodes weekly to inspire, enlighten, show up, and show out for people that love to watch these type of podcasts to have more success in their own business. Thank you so much for your continued support. We appreciate it. We will see you on the next one.